Episode 306, La Niña times 3. This is the Change Underground. I'm your host, John Moore. Decarbonise the air, recarbonise the soil. A quick Varroa update. Quote, Varroa Mite Emergency Response Daily Update, Saturday the 20th of August 2022. The Varroa Mite eradication focus is now moving into the euthanasia and disposal phase of the response, having successfully conducted extensive surveillance around the perimeter of the zone. This next phase of eradication includes Newcastle, Port Stephens and Central Coast regions. It will begin on the outer edges of the Varroa Mite eradication zones and work towards the centre, with the first major operation taking place around Calga. Affected beekeepers will be contacted by the local response team to confirm details of hives and discuss disposal and reimbursement options. No new detections, end quote. Fingers, toes and all other parts crossed that this outbreak has been stopped dead. On to other matters. As you will recall, we had a black summer here in the Antipodes during 2019-2020. Since the drought broke in the winter of 2020, we've been under the influence of twin climatic events, the Indian Ocean Dipole and La Niña events in the Pacific. The Indian Ocean Dipole is based upon temperature differences across the Indian Ocean. Currently, and for the past couple of years, it's been in its positive phase. This means warmer weather off the northwest coast of Western Australia and cooler waters in the western half of the Indian Ocean. This has the effect of drawing moisture-laden air over the continent and so more rain. The weather patterns are such that these rains tend to flow across the continent from the northwest to the southeast. Rain in the Kimberley through the Red Centre and down into the more populated areas of New South Wales and Victoria. And yes, even a little onto Little Tassie as we sit at the end of this line of clouds and rain streaming across the continent. Over on the east coast, the La Niña event has a similar effect. Warmer waters in the Western Pacific and cooler waters over near South America again draws moisture-laden winds onto the eastern states. The first year of this was great. Droughts broke and reservoirs refilled and soil moisture levels increased. It did lead to some once-in-a-100-year floods in areas where floods had occurred before. One of Mrs. Change Underground's sons was flooded out 2 weeks after he'd moved onto a property on the Hawkesbury River. It happens. He upped stumps and moved to Perth, so there's that. Similarly, the town of Lismore in northern New South Wales flooded. Not an unusual event. I went to school outside Lismore and the playing fields would quite often become lakes, cutting us off from the outside world. Lismore has had 24 severe flood events from 1887 to the year 2000, and since then there's been 6 this century. In those 22 years, 16 have been in drought, so basically for every one of the 6 wet years, a 1 in 100 flood has turned up. This year, the February the 28th saw the town underwater at the highest recorded flood since records began. And then on the 30th of March, the third highest or thereabouts flood hit just after a month of clean-up. La Niñas are not fun for those in the flood-prone areas. So this article from Nature, 23rd of June 2022 by Nicola Jones entitled Rare Triple La Niña Event Looks Likely, What Does the Future Hold?, does not bode well. Quote, meteorologists are forecasting a third successive year of La Niña. Some researchers say similar conditions could become more common as the planet warms. An ongoing La Niña event that has contributed to flooding in eastern Australia and exacerbated droughts in the United States and East Africa could persist into 2023, according to the latest forecasts. The occurrence of 2 consecutive La Niña winters in the Northern Hemisphere is common, but having 3 in a row is relatively rare. A triple dip La Niña, lasting 3 years in a row, has happened only twice since 1950, end quote. Not only are we likely to see more rains here in the Antipodes, but the drought in the southwestern areas of the US looks set to continue, and more flooding is likely in Southeast Asia. As for Europe and its summer of heat waves, I could not find anything to suggest what effects that these events may have, but everything is interconnected on the planet in a climactic sense. Buckle up, save water where you can, because inevitably it will be in short supply somewhere. Prepare for both floods and wildfires, which is a crazy thing to contemplate, but we are living in unusual times, as they say. Some have been suggesting in the news sites I peruse that La Niña could become the norm with climate change. Mind you, individuals were also saying permanent drought would be our lot before the last one broke, so who's to know? If we throw in the pandemic, a European war that could escalate at any minute, sabre rattling over Taiwan, the increasingly dysfunctional political situation in democracies from here to the US to the UK, the rise of illiberal governments in Hungary, Poland, Burma, and a whole shite show that is Yemen, North Africa, Palestine, and Syria, it's a wonder any of us get out of bed in the morning. But we do. As gardeners, we have some cards up our sleeves. We can create local microclimates or make use of the ones around us. A goodly use of these will allow us to grow much of our food needs if push comes to shove. Now, I'm not a doomsday prepper type. The last few years, though, has shown that black swan events can and do pop up with some regularity. It doesn't seem unreasonable to have a safety net or a fallback position on hand. So, as I've said before, growing a multi-species food garden may well be the most revolutionary thing we can do right now that actually makes the world a better place. Certainly a world with better flavour, so let's all grow some food. If you'd like help, the discount's still on the No Dig Gardening course, now over at the Change Underground Academy. That's at changeunderground.net. There's a new link in the show notes, and it's still currently selling for $17. It's a new and improved version. So please tell your friends. Decarbonise the air, recarbonise the soil.